Hey guys, welcome to Plan Today, Own Tomorrow. My name is Garry Thurman, CEO and founder of Guardian Investment Advisors. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to listen to us on the radio. Or if you're one of the lucky people out there watching us on YouTube or Facebook, we appreciate that. Tell all your friends and family about it, because each week we come and try to give you some really good educational advice on financial planning, on retirement planning. We talk about income planning, tax planning, long-term care planning, Medicare planning. We try to cover a lot of things on this show each and every week. Today's show is going to be a little bit different because there's something coming up. It's actually in effect as we speak, called the Great Wealth Transfer. And that's where millions, actually trillions of dollars are going to be passed along from baby boomers down to Gen X, or maybe their grandchildren or charities or things like that. And that is happening as we speak. And it's going to be happening over the next 12 to 15 years. I think the estimated amount is around $85 trillion.
That's trillion with a T.
Trillion with a T is going to be passed along. So we're going to make this show all about, have you had that conversation yet? We're going to have a family meeting, if you call it, Plan Today, Own Tomorrow. As usual, I got my sidekicks, Tim McDermott, Bobby Futch in here this morning. Tim, how you doing, buddy?
Fantastic. Trillion's a big number.
That's a huge number, right?
Yeah.
I think about Austin Powers, $1 billion.
Yeah. We talk about that all the time. I'm doing well. I heard this thing a long while back, and it helps you kind of grasp the idea of how big a trillion actually is.
Yeah.
A trillion, if you spent $1 million a day since a year 0 AD, you still would not have spent $1 trillion a day. That tells you how much $1 trillion.
Do you remember that video? Your dad put a video together a long time ago. Remember, it was the one about how big $1 trillion was, and it talked about you could buy this country and you could fund the military. I still have that video.
Really?
I got to find that video. It's really good. Bobby, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good. Good morning.
Good morning. How big's $1 trillion to you, Bob?
It's big.
If I gave you $1 trillion right now, will you be at work tomorrow?
Of course I would, Garry. Of course I would. I might be working from home, though.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, like I said on the beginning, we're going to have this show today called The Family Meeting. And it's kind of one of those, Mom, Dad, do we need to have a conversation? Because here's what's interesting to me, gentlemen. You know, all these baby boomers have spent years and years accumulating all this money. But there really hasn't been a lot of conversations about what happens next. And it's sometimes people are maybe a little intimidated to have that conversation. But, you know, mom and dad know what they want. The kids may know what they're going to get. The financial planner knows a piece. The CPA knows a piece. The attorney knows another piece. But it's actually time for these Gen Xers. I'm a Gen Xer. Unfortunately, I'm not inheriting any money, but that's okay. But it's time for them to have this family meeting and start having these conversations and putting things together. And Tim, I want to start with you. When you and Bobby meet with families, how often do you find that the parents have done a financial planning and really have not communicated very well with their children about their whole financial picture?
Fairly often.
Yeah.
So you just said, hey, you know, the CPA knows a piece, the kids know what they're getting, the grandkids know what they're getting. And I find that it's interesting because we end up seeing that there's a lot of assumptions made in what people think they're going to get. Even when it's written down, maybe in a trust or a will. A lot of times folks have done those trust and wills 10, 15 years ago. Things have changed. Beneficiaries have changed. Grandkids were born. Items have been bought and sold. And so there's a lot of assumptions made, I think. It's hard to, I mean, unless you sat down with your kids every single year and said, here's what you're getting, or you are really diligent about updating your trust, it's hard for everyone to really know all the time what's going on.
You finding the same thing, Bobby?
Yeah, I do find the same thing. And you know, when we think about estate planning and having these conversations, you know, it's natural to, you know, gravitate towards the money and things conversation.
Yeah.
But another important part of an estate plan is power of attorneys, right? Especially medical. You know, the time may come that, you know, mom or dad may be, you know, in the hospital. You know, maybe they're not, you know, end of life.
Sure.
But you've got to make those calls and be more involved in, you know, caring for your elderly family members. And a medical power of attorney or advance directive really helps that. So that's really important to have that conversation.
Yeah, but how do we as financial planners, how do we reach the Gen Xers and how do we reach these baby boomers, tell them and express how important this actually is? Because we always call it planning from the grave, right?
Yeah.
You need to know what's going to happen with your money because we never know when the good Lord's going to take us home. We never know.
Yeah, I would ask the question, and usually what we see a lot of the times is maybe mom or maybe dad are the ones who are kind of in charge of what's going on with the finances. It's not usually both that are totally involved. It's usually one or the other kind of heads up that front. The other person should be asked the question, if mom or dad passes tomorrow, who's your first phone call to?
Yeah.
And if they say, I don't know, right, then there's kind of a problem right there. This is why I think it's important to involve kids into this conversation in some form or fashion. They don't need to know every penny, where it's invested, what you're doing with it, how you're spending it. It doesn't matter to them. Some people do want their kids to know that, but a lot of folks really just need to say, this guy handles my finances.
Right.
This guy's my CPA. Go see him for the estate planning documents. Or we typically know those answers, right?
Yeah.
We've worked with our clients to
Yeah.
know this is their CPA, this is their attorney. So, hey, just go by and see Tim and Bobby. They know where all the accounts are. They'll send you to the right people for the right things.
Yeah, and those documents Tim brought up, Bobby, I mean, that's pretty big. And I want to go back to a situation I had with a lady in Cleveland who was we had just acquired her and her husband as clients. This is years ago. Guys, he passed away 3 weeks after. Walked to the mailbox, massive heart attack, passed away right there at the mailbox.
Yeah.
She did not know where anything was, even the checkbook.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how important is it for this mom and dad situation, for these baby boomers? Make sure they plan together. Both of them need to know everything and where it's at. But then, if they both pass away, it's even more important for those documents. I know you're big on the estate planning piece. Everybody has a will, the state of Tennessee, the state of Georgia, but maybe someone has a structured will. That's great. Maybe they need a trust, don't need a trust. But knowing where those documents are actually at.
Yeah,
God forbid that happens.
That's huge, right? Because not everybody has a file cabinet at the house, right? I would say you probably should, and even if it's not a physical old school filing cabinet, there needs to be a spot where your important documents are held, and your family needs to know that. Right? Keep it under lock and key if you don't want them looking at it, but they need to know where it is.
That's the other big point, though, is not only do they need to know where it is, it has to be accessible.
That's right.
Because if they can't get to it, a lot of people take them and throw them in a fireproof safe, which sounds like a great idea, right? But then when you need that power of attorney, when somebody passes and you don't have the code of that safe, it could take weeks to get
Or even worse, and I saw this a lot in my past life where we administered trusts and estates. They put it in the deposit box at the bank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when you pass away, that deposit box is subject to probate, right? And the bank's just not going to hand over a key.
Yep.
Well, how do you probate something that you need to get in the box?
Catch 22,
right?
Yeah, I mean, we're not talking about grandma's china here.
That's right.
We're talking about investments. We're talking about money that are set aside in, their portfolio, in an annuity. Maybe they have real estate. There's so many pieces to this puzzle that those documents have to cover. And I think it's fun that we're having these conversations. Let's lighten it up. Tim, what's the one family possession you're going to fight your brothers over?
Oof. It's a good question. My dad has an old lever action Marlin that I really loved for a long time.
Nice. I like that.
I can't say I'll fight over it because he already gave it to me. But that's kind of one.
You might gloat a little bit.
Yeah, that's kind of one of the only things that I would really I think I'd want out of from my parents. Anyways, I might think about that a little bit.
Yeah, Bobby, what about you? Is there something?
A physical possession. I don't know about my parents, so to say, but my grandfather is still with us, and he's always been an antique car collector.
Yep.
He's just got all kinds of stuff everywhere, tractors and
Sure.
Ever since we were kids, he's has an old 1956 Chevy Bel Air.
Yeah.
And I think it'd be so cool to pull up to work in
That would
that.
be
Oh, that would be awesome, wouldn't it? I love it.
I'd have to park it in the back so it didn't get dinged.
You
but
know,
I
it's
think that's
interesting
really
to me.
cool.
I want to say about 10 years ago, my mother, started passing stuff along to us. This is kind of like a Christmas tradition for her now.
Sure.
And these little things that she gives me and my sisters, it's been so cool. You know, one of my favorite things, she has these statues, if you call it that. My dad's service was in the Air Force, and they were in Italy for years. And she had purchased these in Italy. And I was like, that is so cool. Like, you know, I always remember my mom and my dad, you know, with these little statues she gave me for Christmas one year. So it's really fun having those possessions. When we come back on the next segment, we're really going to start talking to the Gen Xers. I'm a Gen Xer. You know, you may be in your late 40s, 50s, early 60s. You're thinking about your retirement, but you need to be thinking about mom and dad. And you need to be thinking about what steps to take to make sure when this great wealth transfer actually happens, that not only you're ready, but your parents are ready. We want to make sure all that is right. I would invite you to come in and see Tim and Bobby here in Chattanooga, 423-710-9199. Go see Brogan up in Knoxville, 865-951-7526. If you'd like to get a copy of my book, Plan Today, Own Tomorrow, go to plantodayoffer.com. That's plantodayoffer.com. We'll send the book right out to you. After you read it, you can come in and see one of the guys, and we'll get you set up to make sure you know what's going on with the great wealth transfer. So when we come back, Gen Xers, be listening up. Stay tuned.
Every year, taxes are handled the same way. You earn income, the year ends, and you file a return. That trains us to look at taxes through a rearview mirror. Retirement taxes do not always work that way. Qualified retirement accounts are generally taxed based on future income decisions and future tax rates. Once those decisions are made, flexibility may be limited. That's why tax planning often works best when done proactively, before decisions are locked in. Visit plantodaytaxbill.com or scan the QR code to use our free tax calculator and see what that potential tax liability on your qualified retirement assets could look like based on your current assumptions.
Welcome back to Plan the Day on Tomorrow. Garry Thurman, founder and CEO of Guardian Investment Advisors. And today we're having an interesting conversation that not only baby boomers should be interested in, but the Gen Xers especially, because we're talking about the great wealth transfer. We're estimating over $85 trillion is going to be passed along over the next 10 to 15 years from baby boomers to their children, or maybe your favorite charity or church. But Gen Xers, this is something I really want to hit on you hard this morning because, again, you might be in your late 40s, 50s, 60s thinking about your own retirement. Maybe you're helping your children. Maybe you're helping your parents that we're talking about right now. But somewhere in the background, there's going to be an inheritance. And it's such a hard conversation to have with your parents about them potentially passing away. But, you know, there's an old saying, we're going to do two things in life, Bobby. What is it?
Pay taxes and pass away.
We're going to pay taxes and pass away. So talking about taxes, our national debt is increasing by $5 million per minute. We're spending more money. I think it's $2 trillion, Tim. We're spending more as a country than we're bringing in tax revenue right now.
That's right.
Our taxes going to go up in the future. We don't have a globe. We don't have a crystal ball. We can't tell you exactly, but we feel that it might be smart to start having that conversation because taxes could devastate that inheritance. So, Tim, let's start with you on this. Somebody says, Tim, my parents have done really well, and someday I'm probably going to inherit a pretty big amount of money. What's the first thing those folks need to understand?
Yeah, what kind of money is it?
Right.
Good
question.
Because believe it or not, all dollars aren't treated equal. If you inherit a checking account worth $500,000, that's a very different pot of money than inheriting an IRA of $500,000.
Yeah.
We talk to our clients about this all the time on how it's going to benefit them, but also their heirs, their beneficiaries, inheriting tax-free dollars versus inheriting taxable dollars.
So timing matters.
Timing matters. The type of money matters. How it's inherited matters. Who inherited it matters. And so that is all going to make your situation a little bit different than your neighbor Bob or your friends from church or whoever the case may be. Your situation is always going to be a little bit different.
Do you think it's smart, Tim, for Gen Xers to go ahead and see what their current tax situation is?
Yeah, absolutely.
And building up to that inheritance?
Yeah, so Bobby, we just had a conversation with a younger couple. I think they were Gen Xers probably, and they're doing well for themselves. They have a great income, and they had mentioned that, hey, mom and dad will probably end up leaving some money to us. We don't need it. We've told them to go spend it, take care of themselves, but reality is they're probably going to end up leaving some money to them. And they said, does that matter to our plan? And we said, absolutely, right? Mm-hmm. We asked a little bit about what type of money it was. They were somewhat unsure of what type of money it was. But it's important to understand that, because if you're making a good income already, and then we tack, $100,000 worth of taxable income on top of that each year from IRA distributions, inherited IRA distributions, they've only got 10 years to pull that money out.
Yeah, I think that's an important fact that people need to understand. They got 10 years.
Yeah, and so if
they
they're
have
pulling
to pull it out
$100,000 a year, say they inherit a $1 million account, or really $700,000 or $800,000 with growth, they're gonna have to pull out at least $100,000 a year. That's an extra $100,000 added to their income every year that they really can't do much about.
Their tax bracket just went straight up.
That's right.
Yeah, it's taxed like a paycheck.
That's right.
That's right. And so, Gen Xers, something I want to offer you right now, if you're listening, go ahead and get ahead of the game on your current tax situation. You can go to plantodaytaxbill.com, plantodaytaxbill.com. Put your information in there. You're going to get a report on where you stand right now, and that'd be a great thing to bring in when you come and see Tim and Bobby here in Chattanooga or Brogan up in Knoxville. I think one of the biggest misconceptions, gentlemen, is Gary, I'm gonna inherit $500,000. Well, mentally, they see that they're going to get a $500,000 check, but Bobby, that's not necessarily what's happening, right? Because let me give you an example, Bobby. Two people each inherit $500,000. Could the taxes be different for each one of them based on what kind of asset that $500,000 actually is?
Yeah, without a doubt. I think I'll try to explain it quickly here. So if you get $500,000, right? If it's $500,000 sitting in your parents' checking account, great, right? Move it to your checking account, boom, done.
Problem's over.
Problem solved, right? And a lot of people think, well, I'm going to have to pay taxes on $500,000 because I inherited it. Not necessarily the point. Most people don't pay estate tax. There's no inheritance tax, unless your parents are worth, more than $15 million roughly
Each.
apiece.
Yeah.
But then the estate pays that, not
That's
you, right? So that's probably the most efficient way to get an inheritance is just cash money.
Yeah.
Let's say you inherit a $500,000 house or a $500,000 stock portfolio, right? When you inherit a capital asset, the IRS allows you to have a basis adjustment.
So
Kind of step-up basis?
Yeah, usually step up in basis. It can go down too, but that doesn't happen all too often.
Right.
No.
Right. And so what happens is when you inherit that house, you inherit those stocks, your tax cost is what it was worth the day your parents passed away. So if you turn around and sell it in a reasonable amount of time, it hasn't appreciated that much, right? So you only owe capital gains tax on that growth.
That's right.
So for practical reasons, Gary, no tax there.
Yeah,
right.
pretty much none.
Just if you hold on to the house for 10 years, yeah, you're going to make some money and you've got to pay taxes on it.
Sure.
Let's go to the other extreme that a lot of people don't understand. This is the point we're trying to drive home is if it's $500,000 in an IRA, right? All three examples, you're still inheriting $500,000.
Sure.
Really, you inherited a $500,000 income stream for the next 10 years.
That's right.
Right? That $500,000 has to be taken out of your inherited IRA within 10 years. It's subject to RMD, so you can't put it off.
Right.
And you got to add that to your income and pay taxes on it. So $500,000 inherited in an IRA may turn into more like $400,000 or $350,000.
Yeah.
And it's going to make your income taxes a lot messier than they were the year previous.
Yeah.
Right? And so if you look at the net benefit through all that, those are all three very different situations.
Sure.
Depending on how you inherit that money.
And Tim, I'm sorry to interrupt.
You're okay.
But if they inherit a $500,000 Roth IRA, it's still an IRA. They still have to take it out in 10 years. But what's the difference between a traditional IRA and when we say IRA, pre-qualified money, 401k, 403b, 457 IRA? What's the difference if mom and dad have put that money into a Roth IRA?
Yeah, that means that they've paid Uncle Sam. They've paid off their taxes, and that account's allowed to grow tax-free, be inherited tax-free, be spent tax-free. So it goes to you tax-free. You can leave it in that inherited Roth IRA account for an additional 10 years to grow tax-free. So it can be very beneficial in that sense.
That's probably better than cash or
Oh,
a house,
absolutely.
right?
Bobby did make a really good point that I want to run back on real quick, the house thing, right? So you get that step up in cost basis. You do not get that if you gift that to your house or you put your children on that house while you're alive. We see this happen all the time. We had a lady walk in just the other day. She said, I want to know if this makes sense to you guys. And she handed us a deed. And her parents had given her the house while he was still alive. Now, he was trying to do the right thing.
Yeah, he gave her a gift. She said he was really happy to do that.
He
right?
built
Which
the
I get.
house. He had been living in it for 30 plus years. Mom passed in that house. I mean, he just wanted to make sure that she got that house without going through probate. And he wanted to make sure that Medicaid didn't come back and take it from him should he need that at some point.
So the point of this for Gen Xers right now that are listening to our show or watching us on YouTube or Facebook, they need to really see what their current tax situation is. Then they really need to talk to mom and dad about what they are actually inheriting.
Yes.
Because we all three know that most money is still sitting in pre-qualified accounts. In this country, most money, 90%, is sitting in some kind of 401k, IRA, 457, 403b plan. They need to know what that tax impact is going to be, Bobby. That's a big deal.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And listen, if you inherit an IRA, congratulations, that's great, right? I'm not suggesting that you just don't want to inherit an IRA.
Yeah.
But the conversation we have with most folks is, you're paying what feels like a lot of taxes on your IRA distributions now.
Yeah.
It's very likely that if your kids inherit an IRA from you, they're going to pay even more in taxes. So if your goal is to leave as much money to your family, or let's just even say keep as much out of Uncle Sam's pocket as possible, right? It's worth thinking about how you're paying those taxes now. Prepay them, because I can almost promise you that you can pay taxes on it now, and it'll be less than what will be paid on it in the future.
Inherit being the key word there.
Yes.
Don't gift, inherit.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. That's huge.
I think that's great. And for you Gen Xers out there, you may have some old 401ks sitting out there. And right now would be the perfect time to have a conversation with Tim and Bobby here in Chattanooga or Brogan up in Knoxville about doing some Roth conversions on your current investments. Not only do you need to have this conversation with mom and dad, but you need to look at your current situation. Again, go to plantodaytaxbill.com, plantodaytaxbill.com. Come in and see Tim and Bobby here in Chattanooga, 423-710-9199. Go see Brogan up in Knoxville, 865-951-7526. And as always, you can get a copy of my book, Plan Today, Own Tomorrow, by going to plantodayoffer.com. When we come back, here's the question we're going to ask. Should mom and dad pay the taxes now? That's a big, big step in this inheritance that we're talking about in the great wealth transfer. When we come back, let's answer that question. We'll see you soon.
Every year, taxes are handled the same way. You earn income, the year ends, and you file a return. That trains us to look at taxes through a rearview mirror. Retirement taxes do not always work that way. Qualified retirement accounts are generally taxed based on future income decisions and future tax rates. Once those decisions are made, flexibility may be limited. That's why tax planning often works best when done proactively, before decisions are locked in. Visit plantodaytaxbill.com or scan the QR code to use our free tax calculator and see what that potential tax liability on your qualified retirement assets could look like based on your current assumptions.
Welcome back to Plan the Day, Own Tomorrow. Garry Thurman, founder and CEO of Guardian Investment Advisors. We're having a great conversation today about the great wealth transfer. All the trillions of dollars that's going to be passed along to the Gen Xers, or maybe even down to their children, or maybe to their favorite charity or church, and just having the conversation of a family dinner conversation. Hey, mom and dad, what are you leaving us? What kind of accounts are they? Are they IRAs? Are they Roth IRAs? Are they brokerage accounts? Am I getting the house? Am I getting cash at the bank in a safety deposit box? These are really vital conversations you need to be having right now so you can pre-plan. If you address the issue now, then when things happen, mom and dad pass away, you'll be more prepared. But guess what? So will your mom and dad. They'll be better prepared mentally because they know that they've taken the steps to leave the money properly and how they want the money to be passed along to you. So the great wealth transfer. I want to tackle this question. Should mom and dad pay the tax now? I know Roth conversions are part of almost every conversation you guys are having right now because we're at the third lowest tax bracket we've ever been in. We know those are locked in for the next few years. We don't know what's going to happen after that. We all feel taxes will go up eventually. And if someone's got a 10-year life expectancy, a 15-year life expectancy, most likely there's going to be more taxes that are going to be owed on certain assets that they have. So maybe the question these Gen Xers should be asking their family or their mom and dad is, what type of accounts do we actually have? So, Tim, let's explain in plain English. Why would somebody volunteer to pay taxes now versus just saying, hey, the kids can deal with it later?
Yeah. Bobby uses the blue jean example. I'm gonna leave that for him because it's a good one, actually.
It is a good example, yeah.
My look at it is you owe Uncle Sam this money. Somewhere, some way, somehow he's going to get that money. Why not do it in the most effective manner possible? And knowing that we're in one of the lowest tax brackets we've ever seen, and if you're over the age of 65, you're getting an additional $6,000 deduction right now.
Yeah.
Knowing that, hey, we've been in a market that's really always gone up. It's had its setbacks, but it's always, come back up and made new record highs after each setback. Your account's going to be worth more in the future. All these things say, pay those taxes, get Uncle Sam out of your pocket. I mean, you look at it, and we always talk about the example of having $1 million IRA, right? Mm-hmm. Do you really have $1 million?
Nope.
Right, because you made a deal with Uncle Sam,
Yeah.
pay me now or pay me later.
Yeah.
You owe a portion of that to Uncle Sam. The crazy thing is you signed up not knowing what portion you owe to Uncle Sam.
Yeah, it's really you gave him a blank check, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And so why not pay him while taxes are cheap? Why not pay him when it makes the most sense. For you, right? Mm-hmm. I want to pay Uncle Sam. I want to pay my fair share. I don't want to pay a dime more than that.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Are Roth conversions right for everyone, Bobby?
They're not right for everyone. They're right for most folks we've found.
Right.
Right. There's a couple of scenarios where it doesn't make sense.
In today's
right.
In today's tax environment.
That's right. Could that change in the future? Yeah, absolutely. That's kind of the point we're trying to drive home. But I think when people, if you have had a conversation about Roth conversions, most people just think about how's that going to affect me and my spouse.
Sure.
Right. There's a huge piece to that people aren't talking about is how is that going to affect my children, right? And that's might be even bigger than how it's going to affect you. My blue jean example that I like is, if you've got a favorite brand of blue jeans, right, and you wear them all the time, when those wear out, you're going to go buy another pair of those blue jeans. You're going to go buy them. So if you go to the store and your favorite blue jeans are on sale for 25% off, are you going to buy 2 or 3 pairs? You should. You should. You're going to wear them.
That's right.
Taxes are no different, right? Taxes are really low right now. You're going to have to pay those taxes. Pay your taxes while they're on sale.
And we have a lot of folks that come in and say, well, my kids are going to inherit all this money. They can go pay the tax,
deal with
right?
it.
That's a gift that they didn't need. But at the end of the day, I'm sure you would rather the money go to your kids instead of Uncle Sam.
Yeah.
And most of the time when we do this, we're looking at it from your perspective as the parents, as your money. Does it make sense for you specifically? And if it does, then it's just gravy on top that your kids inherit it tax-free.
Let's drive that point home. It's like, most people, we hope, and live a big, full, long life, right? They may be 80s, 90 years old before they pass away. Their peak earning years are likely over, right? And so when you retire, you quit your 9 to 5, your income comes down, right? Congratulations, that's what you planned on. But when those people pass away, they're leaving it to kids that are 50, 60 years old. They're in their peak earning years, most likely, right? They're earning more money in those age brackets than they ever have. So they're probably in their highest tax bracket they'll ever have been in and will be in. So you're essentially shifting that from a low income earner in low tax bracket to probably one of the highest.
That's right.
That didn't really make sense.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
if mom and dad can go ahead and prepay those taxes, you're essentially gifting that money to your kids.
And then we talked about the national debt, how high it is,
Yeah.
how much we're adding to it. I mean, our government's got one source of revenue, and it's taxes. One form, fashion, or another, it's taxes. If we think that debt's going to go up and it's going to cost us more to service it, taxes mathematically kind of have to go up to help handle that, right?
Yeah.
So agree or disagree, some of the questions Gen Xers should be asking their mom and dad right now, what's your current marginal tax rate? That'd kind of be good to know, right? What could future taxes look like? What income will we have? What assets are likely to be inherited? I mean, there's so many things that go, even Medicare questions that fall into this equation, Bobby, because, what you're actually inheriting actually matters.
Yeah, and it's kind of a conversation that's uncomfortable for a lot of people, right?
Oh, absolutely.
You don't want to be around the Thanksgiving table. Hey, mom and dad. Hey, when you die, what type of account am I going to get? Right? It seems kind of cold, but there are ways to have that conversation. And listen, blame it on us. Say, hey, my financial advisor, we're putting a plan together. We're putting, a plan that spans the next 20, 30 years. They asked me the question. Let me be the bad guy. Right?
Yeah.
Bobby wants to know what kind of accounts, how much, how much are you pulling out? Mom, I'm sorry I have to ask you that uncomfortable question. That mean guy Bobby wants to know. Because it really matters. And what I found in years and years of doing this is most parents are open to that conversation if it's framed the right way.
Sure.
Right? Framing it in a, let's make sure it's most efficient for our family. Let's make sure that all this uncomfortable stuff is taken care of before the time comes. Because when the time comes and you're having to worry about all this, it just compounds the emotional stress. Sure. And so I've found that once you get through these kind of tough conversations, everybody feels better about it.
Yeah, we're not saying that everyone should run out and do Roth conversions right now. We're simply saying, have you ran the numbers?
That's right.
Have you ran the numbers? And you just brought up a point, and tell me I asked you this question. We have a Gen X client. They can actually, because that conversation is uncomfortable. Can they say, hey, mom and dad, we have a meeting on Friday afternoon with Tim and Bobby at 2 o'clock. I want you to come.
Yeah.
And let Guardian Investment Advisors help you with that conversation. Do you think that's something people should be considering?
Absolutely. Not only that, but the opposite way is true as well. We're starting to try and involve our clients' children in that same conversation, right?
Yeah,
so when you come in and do an annual review with us, we want to encourage you to bring your children with you so that they know what's going on, and maybe we can help them make the most out of what you're leaving to them as well.
Sure.
Yeah, that works or really looks one of three ways, right? Like if for whatever reason you're not comfortable sharing details, hey, son, daughter, this is Bobby, this is Tim, Gary, Brogan, these are the guys.
Yep.
Right? You can leave it at that. I'm going to suggest you take it a step further and say maybe here's how my estate is structured.
Sure.
We can leave market values out if you
That's
want
right.
to.
We don't have to give
right?
them numbers.
But here's how this is going to affect you, and at some point in time you will inherit cash.
Yep.
You'll inherit a house. This is what you need to do with the house. This is how it's going to affect you. And then you're going to inherit an income stream from an inherited RMD.
Yep.
Make sure you plan for that. And if you're comfortable with it, and what I prefer is, man, let's just be open.
Be open, have
right?
an open conversation.
Let's just talk about numbers, how it's structured, what that means for family members. I hope it doesn't happen for many, many, many years.
Yep.
But the family's prepared for that, and it gives them a peace of mind.
And how much do we charge for someone to come in and have that conversation, Bobby?
Yeah, it's absolutely free, right?
Is that amazing?
It's literally free peace of mind.
A lot of times it's very comforting to the kids to know that mom and dad are taken care of when they understand the plan as well.
Yeah, and I think what we're doing here, we're not trying to scare anyone. We're simply saying, have the conversation, because we never know, again, when the good Lord's going to take us home. And if you're a baby boomer out there and you're like, man, should I have a conversation with these guys about doing Roth conversions? We got a really cool tool called GIARothquiz.com. GIARothquiz.com. You can go in there and put your numbers in, and it really will give you an indication whether you should come in and have a conversation about doing Roth conversions. We've said it a few times on the show today. We're in the third lowest tax bracket we've ever been in. We know those are locked in through the end of 2028. Now is the time. You don't want to procrastinate this situation. You want to find out if Roth conversions are right for you as of today. GIARothquiz.com. Call us here in Chattanooga, 423-710-9199. Call us up in Knoxville, 865-951-7526. And you can always get a copy of my book, Plan Today, Own Tomorrow, by going plantodayoffer.com. That's plantodayoffer.com. When we come back, this is going to be fun because we're going to give you the family meeting checklist. So get a pen and paper out. You're going to want to write these questions down. We'll be right back.
Every year, taxes are handled the same way. You earn income, the year ends, and you file a return. That trains us to look at taxes through a rearview mirror. Retirement taxes do not always work that way. Qualified retirement accounts are generally taxed based on future income decisions and future tax rates. Once those decisions are made, flexibility may be limited. That's why tax planning often works best when done proactively, before decisions are locked in. Visit plantodaytaxbill.com or scan the QR code to use our free tax calculator and see what that potential tax liability on your qualified retirement assets could look like based on your current assumptions.
Welcome back to Plan Today, Own Tomorrow. Garry Thurman, founder and CEO of Guardian Investment Advisors. Thanks for taking your time out to listen to us on the radio today and or watch us on YouTube and Facebook. Hey, guys, you can always go back and catch the show by going to our website, giaplantoday.com, giaplantoday.com. There's a media tab at the top of the website. You can watch our TV shows and listen to our radio shows in podcast form right there off the website, giaplantoday.com. We've had an interesting conversation today. We kind of focused on the baby boomers. We focused on the Gen Xers. We talked a lot about taxes and what kind of accounts mom and dad are going to leave to their children. Bobby, you said something earlier. This is a difficult conversation to have. Mom and dad calls their kids up, goes, hey, come over for Sunday. We're going to have lunch, and we're going to talk about our financials.
Yeah.
Oh, my God, what's wrong?
Yeah, Mom.
Is dad sick? Is mom
Yeah.
sick? Whatever the case is. And that's not what we're trying to do here. We're just trying to help you get better prepared to have that conversation. And I used the word procrastination at the end of our last segment. Don't put this off.
Yeah,
Now's the time to be having this conversation.
because if you wait to have that conversation until mom or dad's sick, it makes it even worse, right? Because now mom and dad are sick. We really should be focusing on them and their health, and now we're having to mess around with financials.
Yeah,
right?
should we do Roth conversions? Should we not? I mean, it's big.
It feels even worse, I promise you, than having a proactive conversation while you're healthy.
Sure. So we got a list here of 10 questions, and we're just going to go in order. Tim, we're going to start with 10 questions that the Gen Xers should be having in this family meeting. So, Tim, what's the first question they should ask?
Do you have a will? Everyone should have a will. It doesn't matter if you're, 25 with, your first baby or you're 85. You should have a will.
Yeah, and Garry mentioned in an earlier segment that you've got one, right? The state of Georgia, the state of Tennessee has a will, but I promise you it's not the way you want it to be. So if you die what's called intestate, it's very likely your surviving spouse is going to have to split those assets with your children.
Absolutely. All right, so that's the first question. Do you have a will or trust? Bobby, what's another question?
Yeah, do you have a financial power of attorney, which is a big one, right? So, there are, a will and a trust are for when you pass. A financial power of attorney is for when you're still living, right? And that gives an attorney, in fact, is what they call it, access to your financial resources to help care for you, right? So, Garry, you have surgery, you're laid up in the hospital for a long time, and, Rhonda needs to get access to some of the accounts if they're only in your name. They're likely not going to let her do that because she's not an owner.
Right.
And so it's even worse with your kids. So you need to have a financial power of attorney so those things can be handled.
All right, so question number 1, do you have an updated will or trust? Question number 2, who has financial power of attorney? Tim, what's another one?
Who makes healthcare decisions?
That's big.
This is done very similar to the power of attorney through, I always mess this up, Advanced Healthcare Directive.
Yep.
All right, got it. This is a form that says here is who you should go and ask. Here's who makes those decisions. And here's a list of things that should X, Y, and Z happen to me, this is what I want to be done. Right.
This is kind of a combination of a medical power of attorney and the old living will, Garry.
Okay.
Right? They used to be two separate documents. In the last handful of years, the states that we do a lot of work in, the legislation said, let's combine those and put them together. So to Tim's point, it's twofold, right?
Sure.
Who makes the decisions, and it guides your family on what decisions you want to have been made.
Yeah, and you make them now.
Yes, you make them now. And so, again, this is vitally important. Yep. If anybody takes something from our show today about estate planning, go do this. Because when mom and dad are in the hospital, they're getting towards end of life, they can't make their own decisions. I've seen it all too often. People go, gosh, I don't know what dad wanted to have happen.
And
right?
emotions set in.
Emotions set in. So now not only is dad sick, you don't know if you're doing what he wanted you to do.
Yeah.
This document takes care of that and makes it extremely clear what dad wanted.
I love it. Bobby, give me another question they should ask.
Yeah, where these documents are at.
That's big.
Right? Where are these financial power of attorneys, the medical power, advance directive, wills, trust, where are they? Because once you pass, your family's going to have to get their hands on original documents.
That's right. Tim, give me another one.
Who are your professionals? Who's your financial advisor? Who's your CPA? Who's your attorney? Who are other important folks that need to be involved? Maybe there's a business broker that you use to sell a small business that you have. These are good things to write down so that they know who to go and talk to. It's very nice to print off some of these, recent account statements and throw them in with those estate planning documents. But you're going to inevitably have 5, 6, 7 years pass without looking at those documents. It'll happen, right?
Oh, absolutely. Life happens.
And those statements may be 6 or 7 years old. They might not be relevant. You may have transferred them to a different custodian. So know who the professionals are so you can reach out to those people.
Love that. So quick recap. Do we have an updated will or trust? Who has financial power of attorney? Who can make health care decisions? Where are the important documents stored? Tim said, who are your professionals? Financial advisor, CPA, and attorney. Bobby, the next one's big.
Yeah. Are your beneficiary designations up to date?
That's big.
It's huge. So most people, when they set up a 401k and IRA, they'll set beneficiary designations. And they never think about it again.
Yep.
Right? Maybe they're still right. Maybe they're
still wrong.
Not right.
That's an interesting one. I've sat across the table
Me too.
from a couple, and I've looked through their statements, and sometimes there's a beneficiary designation on there. And I said, hey, who is X, Y, and Z? And the husband's face went bright.
It's an ex-wife
red.
or, yeah.
It was an ex-wife, and his new wife was sitting right next to him.
Yeah.
And listen,
tough.
if that's what the beneficiary designation says,
That's where it's going.
That's where it's going. That's where it's going.
Another one I'll mention here real quick, Gary, because it's really important. If you do trust planning, if you go to an attorney, we suggest that you have a revocable trust and you put one in place, you have to go back and fund that trust.
Yes.
Most of the time that's done by updating beneficiary designations so that trust receives those assets.
Yep.
That's big.
Make sure that if you do some planning, you go back and review the whole plan.
Okay, guys, we've got a few more here, Tim. Give me one more. This is pretty big, too.
Where's your long-term care plan? What's your long-term care plan? A lot of folks do have some traditional long-term care. We're showing folks how to use assets to give them long-term care protection. And some folks are self-funding or don't have one.
Hey, this is a little not on point now, but I saw this the other day and I thought it was worth talking about. AARP just did a study this year that 59 million caregivers in the United States that are unpaid, kids, taking care of their parents. 49.5 billion hours they'll spend caring for their parents. And if they got paid for it, the market value for those care services are over $1 trillion.
And that's usually the lady of the house. And so she's out of the workforce, so she needs to be part of the planning. Bobby, we've kind of beat this one up. Go ahead and throw the next question out.
Yeah, what type of assets are you passing to the next generation?
Right.
That's important to know.
And Tim, we've beat this one up too. Give me another one.
What would we want our money to accomplish, right? So are you looking to spend every last dime, let the last check bounce? Are you planning on it coming down to us as your children? As your children inherit it, is your real intention for your grandchildren to use it for schooling, things like that, right?
Yeah, I love that. And honestly, guys, I think that last one, what do we actually want our money to accomplish after we're gone, may be the most important one.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I really do.
Yeah, it talks about family legacy and all that sort of thing. Right?
I mean, that's Grandma's China too.
Right? Yeah, I get it, right? Grandma's China is super important. But that's big, right? Talk about what you want. You worked hard for that money. If you pass it on to the next generation or two, your family should know what goals you want to have with that money.
Yeah, Tim, one of the biggest mistakes you've ever seen, and maybe it's the example you just gave where the beneficiaries were not updated. Is there anything else that stands out, or is that maybe the biggest one you've seen?
To that same point, on about 3 different occasions, it's been quite a while since I've seen this happen, but I have looked in and seen that the financial advisor was the beneficiary as well. So it's good just to check those beneficiaries
I've seen that.
to make sure that things are the way that you originally set them, have somebody else look at it, whatever the case may be.
Sounds like a lawsuit to me.
Yeah, it does. Bobby, what about you? I mean, you came from a past life where you guys did a tremendous amount of estate planning.
Yes.
Is there one mistake that stands out to you?
Yeah, I would say this, and might make people uncomfortable, but it's kind of the whole point to our conversation today. Involve the next generation in these plans.
Yeah.
I would love for everyone to be 100% transparent. I get that doesn't work for everyone. Money does weird things to people.
Yes, it does.
Right?
Well, you've got a unique look at this industry. I'll make this quick.
No, you're fine.
Because you've worked kind of in the trustee department from different aspects of things. And I know you've talked about this before, but a lot of times people don't fight about the money; they fight about the little things.
I've seen that too. Right? You know, I worked in a state in South Georgia. There was a bunch of money in it, $4 or $5 million. Right? The family doesn't care about that. That's money, right? Yep. They've always had money, so they weren't too worried about it. You know, it was Dad's old antique radio collection. Yep.
Yeah.
That darn near went to court.
Oh, yeah.
Right, because they couldn't figure out who gets the old, vacuum tube radios that Dad had forever.
Yeah.
But if, they would have been very clear about their wishes, shared that with the family before they passed, people are less likely to argue if they know that's what Mom and Dad wanted.
Yeah, you made me just think about Aretha Franklin, because she had several little handwritten wills stuffed all over her house, and now her 2 children, her 2 boys, do not even talk to each other.
Yeah, that's a shame.
It broke up the family. You got Prince, who didn't have a will and a trust. I mean, you've had so many famous people with millions of dollars not get ready. Baby boomers, listen, do you need to do a Roth conversion? Maybe it's time you take advantage and quit procrastinating on that and look at the current tax codes. Go to GIARothquiz.com. My apologies. GIARothquiz.com. Then come in to see Tim and Bobby. Come in to see Brogan. Gen Xers, you need to find out what your tax situation is, and you need to be prepared for when you inherit this money. You can go to plantodaytaxbill.com, plantodaytaxbill.com. As always, we offer my book, Plan Today, Own Tomorrow. Go to plantodayoffer.com to get a free copy of my book. The phone number here in Chattanooga, 423-710-9199. Knoxville, 865-951-7526. The great wealth transfer is happening. You need to be prepared. If you're a baby boomer, you need to be prepared on where your money is going. If you're a Gen Xer and you're inheriting this money, you need to be prepared. Start having this family conversation. And as we talked about earlier on the show, bring your mom and dad into Guardian Investment Advisors. We'll sit down, we'll help you, we'll dictate the conversation, and make sure that we get everything set up properly for you guys so that you can have a smooth retirement. And then when the good Lord takes you home, you know everything is taken care of for your children, your grandchildren, and your favorite charity. Thank you for joining us today on Plan Today, Own Tomorrow. We'll see you next week.